Do you feel like there's never enough money? If you do, don't worry, you are not alone. With the hundreds and thousands of people that I have coached, I've noticed that it doesn't matter how much money you have. This feeling can still stay with you. I've worked with people who have very little money and they are so happy and deal with money completely differently in a giving and sharing and generous way versus some people I've worked with who have a lot of money and might even be billionaires and still feel like they don't have enough. And they're living in this scarcity mindset of thinking there's others who have more than them and they're holding back in spending their money. So it's not about how much money you have, it's about how you're feeling inside. And this has been a teaching that I have seen over and over and over again with different clients I've worked with. One example of a client recently who received money out of the blue because he'd helped the company and had a 1% stake in it over 15 years in the past. And they said, can we have your bank account details? And wired 350,000 euros over to him. It didn't make a difference to him. He felt stressed about it. He didn't feel like he deserved it. Even receiving that money out of the blue unpredictably in a moment where he needed money didn't change his mindset. So I realized it's not about the amount of money you have. It's about the mindset you have around money. And even if you had a lot more money, you might not feel differently. So what is the cause of this? And this has been a lot of the work that I've been doing through groups and with individual clients of mine to understand what it is. It's not about the notes and coins or the number in your bank account that you have, but it's about how you're feeling inside and your ability to deal with money and to receive it. And this has been the key. I've seen that a lot of the reasons of why we have scarcity mindset, why we don't feel like we have enough money, comes not only from our lives, but from intergenerational patterns from our ancestors. Epigenetics is proving this now, but on a deeper level, not even the woo-woo level, we were as children in our mothers when she was in our grandmother's womb. All the eggs to produce her children were already there when she was a baby, when she was in our grandmother. So imagine us being there. We would have felt everything our grandmother has felt. Every thought, feeling she had gone through during that time has been passed through to our mothers and then passed through to us. So imagine in the intergenerational lines, what traumas our ancestors have gone through. Many of the clients I worked with lived in Europe, who lived through the world wars. Some of the families were immigrants and had to flee, have moved out of countries. Others really had to go through poverty, the Great Depression. So many things could have caused this. Fears and scarcity mindset that we're carrying today. So it doesn't only start with us, but it really comes through generations before us. There's a great book I've recently read called Breaking the Cycle, which really talks about this. There's so much evidence now out there that it's not only us who carries this mindset, but it comes from way before. And even down to the point that if you wanted to be breastfed as a child and you weren't, that the scarcity mindset could have come in if you were not fed on demand, that you wanted more and more food, that you feel like you could never have enough. I've had clients go down to these memories of where their scarcities come from. But it doesn't mean that this can't be changed. And this is why I'm here today to speak to you about that. Yes, we can observe our patterns, and that's number one, the awareness of knowing what you've come from, knowing your money story, but also your ancestors' money story, to be able to shift that, to be able to embrace it. It's not about having a good or bad story. It's not about having more or less money, but it's understanding what is going on in your system, where this is coming from, and being able to make that shift in your life. And the first step of that is awareness. It's awareness of your circumstances. It's awareness of looking at where you are financially and owning that. Opening up your bank account and not running away from it. Looking at your credit cards. Making a budget, but knowing where you are. And once you have that physical awareness of what is happening, what is the emotional awareness? What is your money story? What have you lived through because of money? What have your ancestors lived through because of money? It's really important to diagnose this, because before we diagnose anything, we can't change it. And it's like going to the doctor. We need to diagnose what's going on to be able to heal that. I've worked with women who've gone through poverty situations of not having enough pennies to put into the electricity meter in their homes, not knowing if they'd have enough heating that winter. One lady who lost everything with her 3 kids, living in a shelter and rebuilding her whole life. Yes, the scarcity mindset was there and they've overcome the challenges. But I've also worked with women who've grown up with money, who've had money their whole lives, not having to work and still feeling like it wasn't enough, or they didn't want their money and they rejected it because of all the situations around money. And I want to remind you that the grass is not greener on the other side. And that's what I've seen through all the groups. It's not that one person's misery is the other person's joy. No, It's the opposite. I worked in a group of women, the first coaching group I ever did, where a lady came, she grew up in a favela in Brazil. She lived in Ireland now, and she was in the same group as two women who grew up in Asia, one in communist China, another one from Soviet Russia who grew up in a communist time too, another one in booming Singapore had a completely different mindset, and two other women who never had to work for money because of their family situations. We put them all into one circle speaking, and it was incredible. Through understanding other people's stories and their mindsets, we can break free. Because the grass is not green on the other side. It's not about comparison, it's not about judgment, but knowing and owning your own story and having this awareness. And once you do have this awareness of where you're at, you're able to transform that. It might be hard to look at it, but know that there's an ability to transform this, and there's people out there to help you, mentors, coaches, communities, and others rooting for you, because you don't have to stay where you have been. And the next step is owning your story. Once you've had the awareness of knowing it, owning where you are, really doing your budget, understanding where it is, taking charge of it, and also knowing that you can rewrite this, that there's a new path. By hearing different stories, surrounding yourself by different people, this can become your reality. The World Economic Forum did a study where it said that it takes 5 generations to change your socioeconomic background because we're not taught about money. And nowadays, there's so many tools and mentors out there who can teach you about money and make that possibility real for you. And you don't have to do this alone. And below I have a free checklist. It's called the Solopreneur's Checklist to Financial Peace of Mind. You can download this to do the inner and the outer work to really bring you on a path towards financial peace of mind. So we've looked at the awareness, we've looked at the fact that you can own your own story, and then it's about changing this. And the change really comes from you and from within. It's about surrounding yourself with people who have a different story, who have a different mindset. So if you constantly find yourself complaining about money with your friends, sitting around the same table saying there's not enough, surround yourself by different people. Start opening yourself up to a different narrative. Start understanding how other people deal with money and work with money, and also see the other possibilities that are out there and know that this is possible for you. It's about finding others who have walked the path before you, getting inspired, knowing that there is another way. And you can do this through the inner work of journaling, understanding what's holding you back, being aware of the looping thoughts such as I can't make money, I'm poor, I'm broke, constantly repeating them. Catch yourself when you're doing this and try and do something differently. Such as if you find yourself not being able to buy yourself something, why don't you try and do that? Why don't you try and buy yourself something that you would never buy? Or the opposite, if you constantly go on splurging sprees to really dampen some emotions within you and not want to feel things, allow yourself to maybe put that aside, your credit card or whatever it is, and sit down and try and feel the emotions. It's about breaking patterns that allows you to move in a new direction. Then there's, of course, affirmations and money mantras that are out there, which you can use. But I want you not to stay on the surface level, but really to go deeper to understand what it is that's driving it. And through understanding your generational stories, through understanding the awareness and where you are today, to know your story, you can then take new steps to rewrite this into the future. By knowing your patterns, you can start changing them. And that is owning your own story and owning your financial future. And everyone can do that today. And I'm encouraging you to take that step to carve out that new reality for you. So I hope this inspired you. If you want to go on your journey as a solopreneur and you would like to know more about how to do this and gain financial peace of mind, download the free Solopreneur's Checklist to Financial Peace of Mind below and follow the steps of your inner and outer work to really make that your reality, the practical and mindset tools. If you like this video, please follow it and you'll be able to receive more of my information as it comes. Thank you for your support.